being human. All right, in being human, I ask my guests to take a survey, and the survey consists of 12 questions. What don't you understand about people?
I don't understand how people can be so self-destructive and so short-sighted. And also, I don't understand how, in the face of a crisis such as the pandemic, where it's so apparent that if we don't all act accordingly on this boat that we're on all together, then the boat will sink. That people can still go, okay, let it sink. See you later. I don't care.
If there's one thing you could change about your childhood, what would you change?
Oh, I wish maybe that I had more confidence in myself when I was a kid.
Okay. What advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say to my younger self, you are a cool kid. And I would say that you don't have to be responsible for everybody's happiness or to make sure that everybody feels like things are fun and good. It's not your responsibility, it's not your burden.
Do you trust yourself?
I've actually always trusted myself because the thing is, if I listened to my instinct, yeah, then it was the thing to do. The problem was sometimes I didn't listen to my own instinct and kept then I was like and then I was kind of like in this game with myself where I was like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong, Reem. Okay. Which is so stupid because I was in this battle with myself to not set it right.
And I think sometimes our instincts, we think we're listening to our instinct, but it's really our own rational judgment overriding our instinct, and we're going with our rationale. Because in order to for your instinct to serve you, you have to be really close to your heart. You have to be kind of plugged in. And if we're not, that message that's coming through might seem like instinct, but it's not. It could be just your desire. Why are so many people their own worst enemy?
Yeah, because they didn't get enough support when they were a kid to be self-confident and humble and a part of the solution and not part of the problem. So when they grow up, they overcompensate by,
Sorry. Are you talking to me? Let's keep us focused on yourself.
you know what? I feel like this whole thing is a bit way too personal, actually. It's like this feels like therapy and not debating it. All
What gives
right.
you hope about the future?
What gives me hope about the future is when I was in Cairo just now, I spent a lot of time with our cousin's daughter, and she just started university, and she's doing a course that is specifically it's a brand new course in Cairo, and it's specifically geared towards environmental studies. And I just think that this experience also on the bridge where these girls in Shabdor, these 15, 16-year-old students, helped me sort me out. And when I told them I could play them a song on the radio and they asked for Harry Styles, yeah, that gives me hope because not because I'm like into like the globalization and I want the gentrification, not to mention the, northwestification of the world to happen. It's that I like the fact that the young generation is connected, but then also these young environmental activists, Fridays for Future, and people gluing their hands, young people, onto, famous works of
Yeah,
art to cause attention, all that stuff. That gives me hope for the future. Yeah.
I really admire those Just Stop Oil activists too. When that's and I really like that. However, sometimes I feel like people are maybe presenting the best part of themselves on social media and are not as confident as they seem, because they actually just did a study in the United States. They say 1 in 3 American girls right now is actually severely depressed and considering suicide.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
a
that's the flip side
huge.
of the whole thing because here
uh,
you see all these TikTok dancers, of all genders, presenting themselves in a way that's most professional. You can't believe it. In the old days, my generation, I see these kids and I'm like, how do they do this? It's so good. And
ticka
then,
chan, ticka
and
ticka chan
then
chan.
that, yeah, we were pioneers of TikTok with our Take a
Yeah,
Chance,
yeah, yeah.
right? But
We were
any case,
TikTok without the cameras, without the microphones.
exactly. But yeah, at the same time, other kids watching might feel like, oh, I can't keep up with this, or I don't look like this, or so yeah, it's a double-edged sword, that one, I guess.
All right, what needs to happen in order to make our world a better place?
If the entire world, yeah, could tomorrow announce that there's been an planetary conference where all parties of all persuasions, of all political persuasions, religious persuasions, everything, have agreed that as of that moment, that they were going to coercively and as a union act in every way possible to halt the climate crisis, that would give me hope for the future.
I always think that the governments would be better off if they had some elder statesmen advisors. You know how, like in the indigenous culture, they lean on the older people for their wisdom and their experience, and they see the every government in a
Sorry.
democracy are only concerned with the cycle of their democracy. So every government is only concerned with the next 4 years, 5 years. But you need some elderly people advising the government that have the 100-year view, the 200-year view.
You
What
know
can
what?
you
There
do?
is a thing called the Elders. Sorry, Tamer. Um, Desmond Tutu was in it. Um, like a whole bunch of like older statesmen and women, but they obviously pass away. But there is a sort of a NGO, I guess you could call it, called the Elders, that brings in these older statesmen and women to
Awesome.
consult and give advice. Yeah,
That's cool. I'll have to look that up.
yeah.
All right. What can you do to make your own life more meaningful?
Dance more.
So, what is it about dancing that adds so much gravitas and enjoyment and I guess meaning to your life?
It's good for your brain and it's good for your body. It automatically gives you the happy chemicals, and it has a lot to do with humility. Like, believe me, yeah, when I do the twerk, nobody needs to see that.
Well, they say motion is lotion,
But
right?
I've never heard that in my life before. But anyways, it's not just the humility and the brain and the body stuff. It's also um, dancing makes me personally, yeah, just feel free and happy. And it's only because I'm moving my body to music. Yeah. And if I'm actually learning steps, then I'm, doing that in an organized way. And that just makes everything better. It does. And it's an international language. I love that. It's
Yeah.
storytelling with your body. That's what it is.
And they say that when you stop dancing, that's when you start getting old. Do you believe in karma?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think that's what kind of ties into that thing of, what I was saying about self-destructive behavior. It's so comedic in a way because it ultimately will kick you in the butt, you know? And that's, if you want to call that karma, call it karma. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it takes a really long time, but eventually, if you do something nasty, it'll bite you. It will.
How do you want people to remember you after you're gone?
With a smile on their face and with a boogie in their butt.
Boogie in their butt. Okay. A boogie. I think I got it. A boogie in their butt. Not a
Not a
boogie in their
boogie in their tissue. Thanks, my little brother Tamer. Beavis and Butthead rolled into what? Oh, sorry.
So do you want me to put on your tombstone, she had a boogie in her butt?
There won't be a tombstone, but if there was, I would appreciate it if you did that.
Okay.
With a
What
really
happens?
weird, like, cartoon, like,
Speaking of death, what
oh,
happens to us when we die?
the heart stops and all the systems shut down. And if you're lucky, you'll have done your toenails.
You had a clean change of underwear. All right. So you're not leaning on the spiritual side of things. It's more of the just it is what it is. And so do you find that people who try to make a big mythology around death that they're trying to make more of human beings than what we deserve? Or are they, what do you think?
It's all a part of that self-aggrandizing and overcompensating thing in some cases, and also it's a part of the um, ongoing, tradition of storytelling. That's how we know
Yeah.
about our past when people, you know, big up themselves after their deaths or make sure that people do that.
But do you think that some people like need to believe that something wonderful is going to happen in order to motivate them to live a good, righteous, integral life?
Some people really do need that, yeah.
Is that maybe the intent of all religion? Is just to kind of it's because I know in jail there's a hope clause, and it said even if you get a life sentence, there's a tiny hope that you might get released on compassionate grounds when you're 88, or if you're got terminally ill, and there's still always a little hope that you could be released, and that little hope helps people to behave in prison because they can ruin it with bad behavior. So is it the same in life, that little that hope that there might be a pearly gates, there might be an afterlife, there might be a reunification? Is that going to keep people well behaved in life?
Well, I'm sure that that's the case for lots of people, but it's so sad to think that people think of life as jail. You know what I mean? And they need a hope clause. It would be so wonderful if we could think of life as freedom and there doesn't need to be a hope clause.
Who has been a huge inspiration in your life and why?
You've been a huge inspiration in my life. Well, not just because of like what you've done as a grown up or, as a dad, as a husband, as just you, Tamer Higazi, but also because I guess maybe you're kind of like my religion because you kind of like helped to keep me on the straight and narrow because I was your bigger sister, you know what I mean? So like had to be a role model and also, protect you. And I know I wasn't like perfect and I made lots of mistakes and I was a real jerk to you and caused some things for you that, that's not nice. But at the same time, I tried my best. And so yeah, just your presence is inspirational for me to be the person that I am.
Well, that's really nice. And I got to say, the feeling is mutual. You're also a big, huge inspiration for me.
So we owe
And
our parents.
I suppose that's like one of the best things that came out of it. The deal was each other.
Well,
And
not one of, two of, and the only things really, let's be honest.
I feel at this stage, there's nothing that can come between us as siblings. It's ride or die to the end. What do you think?
Okay, is this part of the podcast?